I built an automation that enables you to generate AI ads with both images and videos for around $1. No manual work, no expensive subscriptions, just NA10 and Kie working together. And the best part is you're not tied into any big subscriptions. Let's check out some of the results.
Here's the pure rush of energy you need to power through. Now feel ready to conquer every challenge.
Meet the cordless drill that makes every job feel smoother, faster, and cleaner. Balanced in the hand.
Meet the cordless drill that makes every job feel smoother, faster, and cleaner.
Power when you need it. Control when it matters. One clean drive after another. This drill keeps the momentum going and the results looking sharp. From first screw to finish, a steady pace.
Begin your ritual with VEO Pure Radiance in one drop. Lightweight, luxurious, designed to sink in fast and feel effortless. Begin your ritual with VEO Pure Radiance in one drop. Lightweight, luxurious, designed to sink in fast and feel
smooth onto clean skin and let the glow build naturally. Hydrated, calm, luminous, this is your skin at its best.
Begin your moment of self-care with VEO Radiant Hydration Mix. Hydrating, calm, luminous.
In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how we do it with a simple 3-step approach to generate our images, edit those images, and turn them into AI ads. We're going to break everything down step by step. So by the end of the video, you know exactly how the system works. But if you want to jump ahead, click the first link in the description down below and you'll get access to this blueprint straight away. So first, let's jump into a quick demo to see exactly what each part does. First of all, we're going to generate an image. So we'll come across, we'll paste our request in there, say that we want it to be 16 by 9 and 1K. Then all we need to do, because our workflow is listening in the background, is press text to image. That's going to start the entire process for us. It's going to go off and generate this image for 9 cents, so incredibly cheap. We're then going to keep looping around until that video is ready and come across and store it in Airtable. There we go. It's now completed it, gone through and stored it in Airtable. So if I open it up, that's what our image looks like. Now let's come through and we're just going to quickly download this so that we can then go through and use it as a reference image to make some changes. Now, say we started off with actually having this as our main product image that we had, we'll be able to upload it in here. We're then exactly in the same place from earlier on. We're going to update this request. So we're just going to say, please can we have it so the athlete is holding the can instead of it being on the floor and they're about to drink from it. All we need to do, again, having our dimensions specified in there, is come through and press image to image. When we do that, if we come back across, what we'll now see is it's automatically going through and generating a brand new image based on that request, but more importantly, using the reference image that we just generated of the can so that when we go through, it looks the same. So there we go, it's just generated it, coming through and now storing it in our Airtable. So if we open it up, yep, there we go, we've got it all ready to go straight away. So now we can turn that straight into an AI ad. In this use case, I'm going to use Google Veo 3 Fast just to make it a bit cheaper. So this is going to be 30 cents to generate the video. We'll activate this workflow here, trigger the process, and now on autopilot is going to take the 2 reference images that we've already provided here, go through, analyze both of them so we can see what's going to be the start of scene 1 and the end of scene 1. But of course, if you have multiple photos like we do for the other ones, it will then use that image as a reference data for each point. We'll come back across, it's generated that prompt for us with the voiceover and everything else that we need. It's now using the latest model of Google Veo 3.1, and it's only going to cost us 30 cents for one video to come out with fast, or $1.25 with Google Veo 3.1 quality. We'll wait for this to just finish up, and then I'll show you the output. So there we go, it's just finished generating. It's now going through, downloading and storing it in our Airtable. And as we can see here, we've got that result back. So let's check it out.
Here's the pure rush of energy you need to power through. Now feel ready to conquer every challenge.
So as you can see, they're absolutely fantastic, generated in literally a couple of minutes, and it only cost us $1 to do. Now let's jump in and see how to build it. Starting off with step 1, generating our images. As you can see here, all of these are triggered by using webhook requests. To be able to do this, we're using Airtable as our base trigger, but that could be easily switched out if you wanted to use Slack or a form or anything else in that space. That would be able to go through and trigger the process. What we need to be able to generate our image is, if we come back across to Airtable, we simply need an instruction to be able to get that result. So as you can see here, we've got several columns in our table that is going to help us get the output. We've got the user request, any reference images we want to provide, the status, aspect ratio for the video we want, the resolution of that image. We're going to have the trigger for our text to image generation, the trigger for our image to image generation. If you want to turn it into a video, of course, we've got the different models that we can choose. In this use case, I'm keeping it inside Gemini, and we've got either VEO 3 or VEO 3 Fast. And then we simply press a button. It takes any of the generated images, turns them into several AI ads that we can then stitch together. And as you can see here, it's significantly cheaper than having to hire out an entire studio, professional firm to go through and do this for you. Even the small and medium-sized businesses can get on this and try and get those outputs. So how do we generate that image? Well, we're going to come down and do a plus. We're going to add a new row. In here, we're simply going to give it an instruction. So in this use case, I've got quite a detailed image prompt, but this is going to help us actually get out a chair in a Scandinavian style for us to then go through and build an actual demo with. As we can see here, we don't need to add anything else. We simply need to be able to trigger that image generation. We're going to be using Kie and Nano Banana to do this. So what we're going to do is come back into our environment. If this was running constantly in the background, you would have it on activated. But as we're doing the testing today, we're just using the test URL. If you set this up yourself in your Airtable, you need to make sure that it's a button column and that you add your webhook URL into this part here. And then it will be able to go through and send across that record ID for us to use. So let's trigger this process. We're going to come back, listen for a test event, and then we'll walk through it step by step and execute this. So now we're going to be able to capture that specific row's ID in our body, as we can see down here. So now that we've got it captured in our NA10 instance, we're able to go through and first of all, update the status. So as we can see here, we're now pulling across that body of the record ID across into here. And then we're going through and just saying that now that status, instead of being not triggered, we want it to be one of the predefined ones of in progress. So we'll execute that step. Now, as we can see here, it's captured it and saying we're in progress for this request. We're using a simple update a record instruction in here. And if you've not used Airtable or NA10 before, you simply come across, search for Airtable. We're going to be doing update a record. Make sure to go through and add your credentials in here. Come across to our community. Again, the link's in the description. We walk you through step by step how to do this for free. You'll also then be able to go through, choose the specific base that you want, which in this use case is Nano Banana Pro UGC ads. So in here, we simply come down and do Nano Banana UGC ads, and then we want our first table here because of course we've only got one table at the moment. We're then getting rid of all of these extra fields here, and then all we want to do is put across that record ID into what we're matching with. And in this use case, we're updating that status just to be in progress. That's how we've set it up. If we get rid of this, that step is now not tied into the others, but what we're doing is going through and getting the extra details for that specific record. You can have it added in if you wanted to. I've just kept it separate for now. So once we've updated that status to be in progress, we're then going to come through and retrieve all of the information for that record. because as you'll see here, right at the start, we're only getting that record ID. We're not getting anything else. So instead, we're now using a get resource request within Airtable, again, from that exact same table that we were using earlier on, and we just passed across our record ID into here. So now we've got all of those results on the right-hand side. So what we're able to do is come out of here and now come across to Kie to generate our image. The reason for this is because, as you'll see here, we've got user request and all of the details in here that I specified. So we can have that as the instruction to generate our image. To do this, we're going to need a couple of different elements. First of all, we'll do HTTP request so that we can add in our Kie credentials. We'll come across to Kie, which is a great platform. It enables us to access lots and lots of AI image and video generation models, but at a reduced cost. If I come into here, we'll be able to see all of our different tabs on the left. You want to make sure to come across to Model Market to find all of the different models. Now today we're going to be using the brand new Nano Banana Pro, so we simply click on this. Now what you'll see here is the easy to use, no code interface that enables us to get those outputs. So for example here, if we added in our actual prompt into here, it will be able to go off and generate that image for us. This is all done based on credits. We'll explain a little bit more in a minute. But as you can see here, we can define the aspect ratio, i.e. do you want it to be big and wide for a TV, or do you want it more focused for social media, 9:16 format, and the resolution and the output as well. What you'll note with this is it does impact the price. So as we can see here, it's going to cost us around 9 cents to generate each image if the quality is 1K to 2K, or it's going to cost us 24 credits or around 12 cents per image if we come up to 4K. That is still about 50% cheaper than going with Google's Nano Banana directly. One thing to keep in mind though is if you come across to Google's AI Studio, everything that you see on the right hand side here for some of the advanced features, we don't get that control within Kie. So if you want to be able to give it that grounding of Google search, definitely come across to Google's AI Studio directly and use that instead. If we come back across to Kie, now let's go through and explore how we can generate those images on autopilot. We're going to come across to the API setting and on create a task. If we come down here, we'll see that we've got a curl request, which we can copy, come back across and import into that HTTP request we've already set up. You'll need to make sure to come through and add your API key, which you can do nice and easily. If you just come back to the API market, down to where it says API keys, and then copy across the one that you want to use or generate one if you haven't already. We're going to bring this back to Nano Banana and come back across into here. Now, what you'll see here if you've imported their standard one is you need to get rid of callback URL unless you want it to come back in a more advanced way by using webhooks. We're going to need to add in some extra elements. So what we're going to do is change this to expression and open it back up. This is one of the great features about NA10 because what it now enables us to do is delete this standard prompt in there and now put across the information we actually want it to use. So now on that autopilot, it's going to go through and generate this image and videos for us. We're going to get rid of the resolution aspect ratio as well and just put across our actual instruction, which in this use case, I forgot to specify. So we'll come across into here quickly. We'll say it's going to be 16:9 for both of these. We'll come back into here. We'll just get that request again. And then what we'll be able to see if we come back into here is we've got all of that on the left-hand side here. So if we open this up, what we're now going to do is have the aspect ratio on the left. So we'll pull that across. We're going to have the resolution, which we'll get rid of here and put across as well. And then we're going to keep it as just PNG for all of those outputs. So now what that will enable you to do is go through and generate images. So if we come back to the one that we've already set up and I execute the step, as we can see here, it's done exactly the same request. And now we've got a task ID back. And this is how we need to work with Kie to keep looping round until we get that image being generated. So we're going to go through, wait a couple of seconds, with our wait module in here, and then we're going to go through and get the status. This is if we come across to our requests down to API. This is our query task request. So if we come down here, you just need to copy this curl request into another HTTP module, which basically the HTTP is enabling us to interact with different applications over the web. You need to get rid of the task ID, pull that across, and go through and add your API key as well. If you've done that, what you'll be able to see when you execute this is the current status of that image being generated. As we can see here, it's been able to go through and successfully generate it for us. But as it needs to loop around a couple of times, that's why we've got the switch module in here, so it can check, is it actually generated, is it still generating, or was there an error, in which case we need to do something about that. If it was successful, we're then going to come down and download that image. As you can see here, we've got a simple request, which is basically going to be, if I pull this across in here, instead of us trying to go through and use all of this information, actually we're going to be using a parse, which basically means separate some of the data, because we only want that results URL, which you can find in here. The reason for this is because it's the first item in the results array URL that's tied into this information that's come back. So that's how we're able to go through and extract that image URL. Once we've done that, we're then simply downloading it into a base64 format. The reason for this is because this is the only way currently to store information in Airtable. We're not able to go through and simply upload an image. What is base64 though? Well, if I simply come through and add in a new node, so we'll pull up from here, or if you come to the right and do base and then 64, what you'll be able to see is either extract from file or convert to file. In this use case, we're going to be extracting from file and moving the file to a base64 string. If I just trigger this one here, what you'll be able to see is a super long text string that relates to that specific image. It basically describes what's in there, the different contents and elements, so that we know how best to store it within Airtable. We then come across to our Airtable store module, which is basically telling us what base do we want to use, i.e. Nano Banana, what data do we want to store in it. So your URL is going to be telling us what app you want to use, which is going to be, if we come back across, this app ID up here. We're then going to be coming down and saying, okay, what row do you want to store it in? Well, of course, the one that we triggered earlier on, which is this bottom one here. We'll be able to come back across, and then we're saying we want to upload it into our generated images file field. We've got the % and 20 in there, because if we come back across, we've got a space in here after where we've got generated images. Of course, for a URL, we need to make sure that it all ties together. So if you ever have any spaces within your field names, make sure to add in % and 20. Now, what we're going to do is simply come down the bottom. We're going to add our credential types in here. So you need to make sure that you've got predefined credential types and your Airtable API key added in here as well. We're then going to come down and tell it what data we're sending across. So we're using a JSON body. We're saying that we've got an image in a PNG file type. We're then using all of that data, that base64 data that we've just extracted, to upload into our Airtable. We've given it a simple file name of just the different models that we're using. So if I scroll down all the way past all of this, we can check out that file name. And what it's basically just saying is a really placeholder version that just explains that we've got Nano Banana Pro as the model and that request ID that we sent through. This is just enabling us to record that back in the future if we need. So what you'll see here is we're currently not storing any generated images, but if I execute the step, we'll now get an updated image being stored in here for us to be able to access. It's just gone through in the background, so any second now, maybe if I refresh it, we should see that image being uploaded in here, and there we go, we've got that first image for us to be able to use. So that's step one, generating the images and storing them in here. What if we want to go through and actually edit them and maybe create some more versions? Well, that's nice and simple. What we're going to do is come back to the left-hand side here. We're then going to say, please create an image where someone is sat in the chair drinking coffee. Again, you can make this as detailed as you want. What we're looking to do is generate one image at a time, just because it's not entirely reliable at the moment for the outputs, and it can be quite expensive, so it helps us have some control over that output. Now, what we're going to do is come back out of here. We can update that status to be done, which is just going to update this last part here. And then we're simply going to come down to step number 2. Again, very simple as before. We're going to be using a webhook trigger as before. We're going to come down to here. You need to make sure that you update any of the aspect ratios or resolution, because that is what we will use to generate the images. Now, what we're going to do is quickly just download this image, because we need to be able to use it as our reference version instead. So I've just downloaded that, and now we're going to add it as a reference image instead. We're going to add that in here. There we go. And now we can use it to edit the images that we want in the future. The reason I've done it this way is because maybe you've got an actual product image that you're using straight away. You'd be able to add that in here as a reference image and then edit it in the future. So we're simply going to come back across to our environment. We're going to execute this process here, and we're going to do image to image. It's very similar to before. We're using a webhook request as we've got in here. So if you're testing, make sure to use the test URL, or if you're using the production URL, the active environment, use production URL. What we're then doing, if we come out of here, is we're going to be going through, as before, updating that status. We're then going to come through and get all of the record information, as you can see here. Now, importantly, also including our reference URL, as we can see here, for that image that we uploaded. So now, as you can see here, we've got that reference image that we can use. If we come out of here, we're then going through, extracting that exact URL that we want to use. We're adding it into an array in case we're generating multiple different ones. We're then going to come through and we're actually going to trigger a request to go through exactly the same as before, but this time we've now added in an extra field in here to tell Nano Banana that it needs to use the reference URL from our specific outputs. So as you can see here, if I get rid of this, we're then putting across the array, i.e. all of the URLs if they existed for our reference images to then get the output. That's where, as you can see at the top here and from the demo earlier, we're then able to combine different images like this dress and this chair to be able to get a new version where that lady sits in the chair, or it's got the dress draped over the chair. Gives us lots and lots of customizability. If we come out of here, what we'll then do is come across to the next part. This is where, again, it's simply looping through and going and extracting that image once it's generated. So it looks like it's coming through here. It's still generating it in the background. So I'll just wait for this to finish. And then exactly the same as before, we're downloading that image, converting it to base64 and uploading it into Airtable. So there we go. It's just finished up generating that image. If we now come through, we can check out what it has. As we can see there, we've now got someone sat in our exact chair. So think of all of the different use cases where either you're using it for your own business or selling it into clients, where you can help them actually put their products into different settings nice and easily without having to, hire studios, rent out different locations, lots of different editors. We can get it all done with AI incredibly quickly. Again, same as before, we'll change it to base64 format, the really long string, and we're going to go through and store all of those images in our Airtable like you can see here. So now we've got image 2 and image 1 ready to go. So next we're going to run through how to turn that into an AI ad and generated video. What we're going to do is come down to our request here. I'm just going to walk us through step by step. So first of all, I'm going to make sure that we execute this specific test. We're going to come back across, and in this use case, we're going to say we want VEO 3 fast. There is a big difference in the quality between VEO 3 the top end model and VEO 3 fast, but there is a significant price difference. If you're using VEO 3, it's going to cost you around $1.25 per output, whereas Google's VEO 3 fast is only going to cost you 30 cents per output. So definitely come up with maybe some ideas in VEO 3 fast before you do the full AI ad with Google VEO 3. If we come back across, what we're going to say is, again, we want that aspect ratio to be 16:9. We want our video model to be a VEO 3 fast. And then just as before, all we need to do is press trigger step for image to video. We're going to come into here. We've captured all of our different data. We're going to go through, update our status to be in progress, as well as get all the results, as we can see here. So now we've got everything ready to go. We're going to walk through step by step how this works. So what we're taking into account with this magic code node here is on the left-hand side, as we saw from some of the examples, you could end up with lots and lots of different images that you want to use. So what this is going to do is this code node here, which I think is a little bit of magic that we've come up with, is going to help us extract all of these different generated images that we want to use only from the generated image field. And then we're going to extract all of these URLs. But why is it magic? Well, what it's enabling us to do is come up with different scenes that tie together. The reason for this is because if we come back across to Kie, we come down to image to video, we can then come across to Google Veo 3.1. If we open this up, Google's Veo 3 does have the ability for us to do image to video with a start frame and an end frame. So we can tell it that start frame and end frame of each video that we want to produce. The reason this is really important is because for our AI ads, what it then enables us to do is say, for example, this is the starter image, and then we want it to finish on this image. For scene 2, we then want to start with this image and then finish with this image. For scene 3, we want to start with this image, finish with this one. So it enables us to have that almost storyboard effect where each video ties together to get the output. So if we come out of here, as we've only got 2 images, we're going to have this as the start URL and this as the end URL. But if we then had another one, maybe where she puts a blanket over her, for example, or she spills her coffee, we would then use this as the starter image for scene 2, and we would go through and have the second URL for the end scene. I hope that makes sense. Drop any comments down below if it's not too clear. So we're then going to go through and analyze all of the scene 1 images. We're using a analyze image module from OpenAI, and we're simply passing across URL 1 into here. Again, what that's doing is taking our URL, opening it up and going, okay, what is it? Tell me everything about it. We'll execute the step. We've got detail turned on to high, so it's going to give us a really detailed description about that chair. If I just change this to table, what we'll be able to see is that we've got the image shows a modern lounge chair with a minimalist design. Chair is a cushioned seat, high backrests, tan or brown light leather, frame is sleek, black metal, so on and so forth. So you can definitely change this text input here to get that improved output. We're then going through and analyzing that second image. So in this use case, that second image here, if I just open it up in a new one, is going to be that person sat in the chair. So it knows that we're going to start with just a plain empty chair, and then we're ending with someone sat in it. Again, passing across URL 2 and describing what's in it. You'll also see here that slightly different description that it says the person is sat in the chair as well. If we come out of here, if I open this set node up, what we're then doing in here is based on how many different scenes that we want to use, we're telling the set node here, okay, this is scene 1. We then got image description 1, the image description for image 2, and we're saying how many scenes currently exist. So this way we can know if it's scene 1 out of 3 and what we're using. We're then going to go through and generate a prompt for this. We've got a super detailed one in here, which you get access to in the resources. And again, you can fully change this to be whatever you want it to. We're telling it how to get those best outputs, some of the clear detail, constraints, what's good, what's bad, voiceovers, and much, much more. We're telling the AI some of the key pieces of information. It's like asking a chef to generate a meal without telling it in the ingredients. So we're giving it as much information as possible at the start. What you'll see here is right with our get a record details is we're using the user request to tell the AI what that user really wants. We're then telling the AI how many different scenes we're going to have from our code module. So in this use case, we're saying these URLs relate to scene 1, but we've only got one scene that we're generating for here. So that's where our total scenes would increase, and then our video index would say 1 out of 3, for example. And that's what we've got in here. We're then passing in the descriptions, so image 1, image 2 descriptions, and we're giving it the chance to generate the output. And as we can see here, super great detailed output with some timeline prompting to help us get those best outputs. We'll then come out of here. We're then going to be using the create request with our Google Veo 3 API. As you can see in here, we've got it all ready to go in the community. If you've not used it before, go in, add in all of the details, and copy the curl request. If we come back across, I'm just going to trigger this process just so that you can see it going through in the background. What we'll just get it to do is now, having submitted that request, is keep looping through until that video actually says that it's successfully generated. To do this, we need a slightly different one to perform. So if I come back into our API documentation, what you'll see down here is we've got get VEO 3 video details. You need to use this curl request instead. What it's then going to do, if I just open this up, is we're going to be checking for that task ID, but as you can see in here, specifically information relating to Veo versus market, ones that they have for the other models. As we can see here, we got successfully triggered on the right-hand side, and exactly the same as before. We're going to let it keep looping round until it's generated that video. So there we go, exactly the same as before, finished up. We then downloaded that video, so as we see here, it's ready to go in the background. Changed it to a base64 string. What we did do in here though, is we updated it to say it's going to our generated video column instead, which if I come out of here is this one here. We're then also saying for the body of the request as well, if I come down to here, that we're sending across a video MP4, and it looks like it's not picked up that file name, which is fine. If we come out of here, we're then going through and also, last but not least, updating our status. So now let's come through and check out what it produced. So there we go, as you can see, and that's with the cheapest model from Gemini 3. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Again, this is not 100% every single time, but that's why we've got the options to go through, and to think that small and medium-sized businesses can spend hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars to get the exact same output, but with high-quality studios. This gives us a massive leg up to get more volume out there and still maintain the quality. Don't forget to come across to the community if you're interested in AI and automation or want to get this blueprint straight away. Let me know anything else you want to see in the comments below, and stay tuned for more around AI automation, and have a great day.